Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Soul Talks with Alka. Today I have a very special young lady with me. Her name is Neha Sharma. So most of us, when we celebrate our 16th birthday, we get gifts of a very different kind. Neha got a gift of something that probably none of us want. I'm going to introduce Neha and then let her describe what her 16th birthday brought for her. Neha, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So tell us, Neha, after you celebrated your 16th birthday, what happened?
A month after I turned 16, I was diagnosed with a rare form of bone cancer called osteosarcoma.
So tell me, how did you know that you had that?
I started to have really bad leg pain, and then I started limping.
Okay.
And the doctors kind of just told me it was just growing pain, it'll be fine. And then eventually I had a bump.
Okay.
So they had to do an MRI, and then that's when they found out it might be a possibility. But even then, because we don't have like a family history of cancer or anything like that, they said that it's probably just some sort of bone infection. But they did a biopsy, and that's when they found out it was cancer.
So did you have to go through chemo and all?
Do 6 rounds of chemo.
Okay.
And then instead of amputating my leg, which is what they would have done like maybe a couple years before, they were able to save my leg.
Oh, wow.
And they took out all the bones in the joint, and then they put in a prosthesis and reattached all the muscles and nerves. So It was like a whole 8-hour surgery.
So I just watched you walking in with like 3-4-inch heels and all of this. So nobody, and even when I knew you, like all of the things you were modeling right after that, right?
Yeah.
You were doing all of those things. How does someone who's as young as you get the strength to come out of it so quickly and resume life with a smile on your face and twirling the way you used to?
It's honestly funny, the power of social media, actually, because it's been a 10-year struggle for me.
Yes.
And it's just, the cancer keeps coming back. So it's like, I'm literally doing something for, like, I'm normal for a few months, and then it comes back, and then I'm like off the radar, and then I come back, and then, but like nobody knows because I never talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they say, may your life be as good as it is on Facebook.
Right.
Right? But you don't know what the struggles that.
Yeah.
So when did it come back again?
So it came back. So I had it when I was 16.
Right.
I went to college for a semester after 2 years of like the limb salvage surgery, learning how to walk from scratch again. I finally went to college.
So you had to start all over after that surgery?
Yeah. I was bedridden for about 4 months. I remember when I had physical therapy, I went to go take my first step because my physical therapist was like, okay, now it's time to take your first step. You're full weight bearing now. And I just stood there and I was like, how do you take a step? Like, I didn't remember how to walk.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was scary.
It's scary.
Because it's something you've just,
you take
when
it for
you're a
granted.
child, you
Yeah.
just like know how to do it. You never stop and think about how I'm walking. And it took me 1.5 years to be able to walk normal again. And I remember I would just sit there like in a park or something and just watch people walk by and like watch their legs and be like, how do they do that? Like, how do they do that with no pain?
Wow, because you're looking at them and saying,
Yeah.
when will I be able to do it?
Yeah, yeah. And how do they do that without thinking? Like, I would have to stop and be like, okay, heel, toe, bend, because I just didn't remember how to do it.
And then how long did it take you to get your movement?
1.5 years, because I had a lot of other complications. They had to take my calf muscle and put it in the front of the joint. So everything's just kind of like jumbled up down there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
And so then you said it came back again, right?
It came back when I went to college for a semester, and then I had to get pulled out because it came back in my lungs.
It came back in your lungs.
Mm-hmm. So bone cancer starts from the bone, and then it metastasizes to your lungs. So when it comes back, it usually comes back to the lungs.
Got it. Okay. So then did you have to go for another round of chemo?
I, knock on wood, have not had to do chemo since.
Okay.
They said that as long as it keeps coming back, if it's in a spot like that they can get and get all of it out, they're just going to keep taking it out. So that's what they've been doing.
Oh, so how did you know when it came back in your lungs? Like, what was the symptom then?
I get scans regularly.
Okay.
So at that time I didn't have any symptoms, but it just showed up in a scan.
Got it.
And then I was clear for about 4 years.
Okay.
And then 2 years ago, it came back and I had stopped going to the doctors because I was like, I'm clear, it's fine. Like I started ignoring my appointments or whatever.
You started living a normal life.
Yeah. And I started working. So then I just got really busy with work and I was like, it's fine, it's whatever. And then one day I was caught, like I got really, really sick and the doctors told me it was strep throat.
Okay.
But then I was like, it doesn't feel like strep throat. And the strep test came back negative, but they're like, we'll just treat you for strep. So I said, okay. But then I refused to take the meds because I'm like, if I don't have strep, I'm not going to take these medications.
Good. You used your brain.
Yeah.
That's good. And sometimes you need to do that with the doctors, right?
Yeah.
You can't just...
You can't. You
need to listen to your body.
Yeah. So I was like, that's not right. Like, this doesn't feel right. And then I went back to the doctors and they said, oh, it might be bronchitis or pneumonia. And I was like, no, it doesn't feel right. And then I finally had chest pain, so they sent me to the ER, and I was coughing up blood.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it was almost like a 2-month-long process of me having this terrible, terrible cough. My cough was so bad that I would be sitting in the office, and when I would have to cough, I would go outside, because I'm like, people are going to think I'm like dying, like...
Wow.
Yeah. It was a real nasty cough, and I'm like, I don't know how the doctors missed this.
Especially when they know your history.
Yeah. That's what was alarming to me, was that if I'm coughing up blood, the first thing they should do is prescribe a chest x-ray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were actually playing the doctor and saying, I think maybe you should prescribe a chest x-ray for me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then what happened?
So then they found it when they finally did the chest x-ray. Actually, when I went to the ER, they were like, we'll still treat you for pneumonia, and there's a mass that I would follow up with their onco, but it could just be from the pneumonia. And I'm like, given my history, there's a mass, I'm coughing up blood, I really don't think it's pneumonia. And when I went to my actual onco, she looked at the scan and she was like, yeah, I can tell just by looking at this what it is. Like, I don't even need to go in there. So then they decided to do surgery and they took it out.
Wow. But it didn't end, right? Because it came back.
It came back 5 months later.
It came back again.
In 2 spots in my lung. So I had to get open lung surgery because the ones in the past were minimally invasive. So it was like about a month of recovery time, a month or 2, and I'd be fine. But with open lung, they have to literally what they do is they open up your lung and they literally clasp it open while they're taking out the tumor. So it takes a lot longer to recover from that because it's like a full incision down the side and everything. And that took about 3 to 4 months. I couldn't sleep for about a month. I had to sleep sitting up. So I just sat there for hours and hours just sitting up.
I'm having a hard time even imagining, right, what you're going through. How old are you now?
I'm 25.
You're 25. So this happened...
I was 24.
A year ago.
Yeah.
Right? How does a young girl, right? How are you coping with all that's happening to you? What is your thought process? What are you thinking? What the hell?
Honestly, I don't think that I've never really had the chance to stop and process because it just keeps coming back. So I feel like it's just been a buildup of 10 years of every time I catch a break, I'll get busy, I'll start a job or go back to school or something, it comes right back. So it's just I never stop and actually process what's going on. And in the moment when I'm dealing with it, I think I kind of just have to shut everything off and just
deal with that.
Literally just, yep. I just turn everything off and don't think about it at all. I just sweep it under the rug.
See, it's kind of like you have a tunnel vision at that time just to get that finished.
Yeah.
But do you ever do you see a therapist? Do you go to see a therapist? A lot for a 16-year-old to 20, in 10 years, a lot's happened to you to process. It's it's a lot. I'm hearing it and I'm just getting a little thing. So this is happening to you all the time. And something just happened recently also, right? It didn't stop. Because we were supposed to meet earlier and we did not.
Yeah.
So what happened this time?
So I had the same symptoms, the raspy, like chest coughing and all of that. And I think at this point, I just know when something's off with my body. And I remember I was at work one day and I just like hadn't been feeling right for a few weeks. And like, I think the anxiety just started to set in because I knew, like my body just knew it was back. So I just kind of had a little bit of a panic attack. And I told my boss, I was like, I need to leave right now. I need to go to the ER. Like I need to be seen. And then I left work. I went to the ER and they ran a bunch of tests and they found it.
And then what? Then what was the treatment now?
They did surgery to take it out again.
They did surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Was it in the same spot or a different spot?
It was on the opposite side. So it's been coming back in the right side. This time it came back in the left, which was odd. Yeah.
Okay. So what does the doctor say when they're meeting with you? What are they saying?
They're just as surprised as I am. Like they don't really have much of a, they can't really say much because I guess they don't know like what to expect until they go in and take it out. Because I don't even know, like if the surgeon doesn't know until he goes in if he's not going to be able to get it all out, then I'll have to get chemo. So they don't really know. They know just as much as I do, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they don't know, they can't ever tell you what to expect?
No.
Nothing.
They're just like, and they gave me a choice, honestly. They were like, it's really small at this point. So if you want to take it out, we can, but we can also wait, but we'd rather not sit on it because we know you have a history and we just want to get it out right away.
And I know you can't speak for your parents and you can't speak for the family, right? But when you were sitting at a dinner table, what are you guys talking about? Like what
We don't talk about it. It's like it never happened. Like I don't think I've ever sat down with my family and discussed my situation, talked about it, my feelings, anything. It's just like it never happened.
But how do you deal with it? Like I'm just trying to figure out someone who goes through situations, because people go through little things and cry about so much, right? That, oh my God, this thing happened to me and you won't believe, and woe is me and why me? And you're going through this where every time you have a cough, every time something hurts, right? What is your first reaction? Is it back?
Yeah.
Right?
Every single time, yeah.
Every single time. That's your first reaction.
Yeah.
Why am I getting sick? Is this back?
Yeah.
What's going to happen next?
Yeah.
What is your dialogue to yourself when you're alone? If you're not talking to someone, what are you saying to Neha at night?
I don't think about it. I really don't. And like, I think that's my way of dealing with it, is just acting like it doesn't exist, and that's probably the reason I don't ever talk about it or share it. In terms of how you say that you would have never guessed through like seeing like my pictures and stuff like that on social media. I think it's just easier to pretend sometimes that it doesn't exist, because if other people were to know about it, then I would have to face it too. And then it just becomes real. You know what I mean?
Because, but when I called you to talk about it, right, you didn't hesitate. You didn't say, I'm not ready to talk about this.
Yeah.
Your thing was, absolutely, Auntie, I'll talk about this. I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But you don't talk to Neha.
No.
Right? And you don't talk to the family.
No.
But you're okay to talk to someone else. And what is your motivation for that?
The reason I don't talk to my family or friends about it is because I feel like the best way for them to be able to handle it, I think it's almost harder for them than it is for me, because they don't know what I'm going through. They can just watch me suffer, especially for somebody like my mom. Like my mom and I never talk about it, but she's always there. She's always at my appointments. She's always there when I have surgery. And we always stick together, but we never talk about it. And I think it's just easier that way, because I don't want to put that burden on them, and I don't want them to see what I'm going through, because then it'll just make it harder for them. But I think after 10 years of going through it, I think that if it could help someone, I should talk about it.
So you're here not to help Neha, not to help your family, but if somebody else is going through it, to help them?
I just think that there's a lot that I went through that if someone else were to know about it, it could, and is going through something similar, my experience could help them. Like in terms of my, like the healthcare system, for example, when they misdiagnosed me so many times, I think that people should definitely advocate for themselves when they think that a doctor is telling them something that isn't right. They should believe in that gut feeling and definitely go and pursue that and see other options, do your research, and make sure you're informed, because doctors are human too, and they can only do so much and know so much.
Yeah.
And you know your body best.
You know your body.
Yeah.
I mean, those doctors, with what they did, like, you're just like, come
and they
on.
were my primary, which is alarming because they have my entire medical history and like they know everything about me in terms of medical treatment. So they, like, the first thing they should have done was a chest x-ray.
Wow.
And that was the one thing they totally missed. And they didn't take me seriously.
Because they just said,
yeah,
you're a young kid.
They treated, they treated me like I didn't know what I was talking about, even though I know my body and I've been through this so many times, which was honestly really upsetting.
Wow. What else did you learn from this? Like, I mean, you've learned a lot. So that's not, but I meant like in what you're out to advocate to help others, like what other lessons would you give to, because clearly Neha doesn't want to tell Neha anything. So what else would you tell, like, the people out there who are watching you, who see this size 0, beautiful girl, who's a model, who is a dancer, who has a smile on her face every time I've seen her, but has like trauma, like I would have never guessed the trauma that you've gone through, and came here not to talk about Neha, but came here to help someone. What is the other advice that you would give them?
I would say that if a doctor tells you there's something you can't do or won't be able to do in the future, I say just keep trying, because there's always new technology, and when there's a will, there's a way, because you can push your body past its limits.
You can. I mean, clearly you're an example of that, because I saw you dance at your sister's wedding, right?
Yeah.
So for someone who was watching other people take those steps and wondering, am I going to be able to put my right foot in front of my left foot?
Yeah.
Danced pretty elegantly.
Thank you.
At that wedding,
Thank
right?
you.
So all of those things where there is a will, there is a way, you have actually put that into practice. You're just not talking about it.
No.
So do you read books? I just want to know what ticks Neha? Like, what's the force behind Neha?
I think I've always just been really, really stubborn. When I was little, my sister could read Hindi and I couldn't read Hindi. And I remember we went to someone's house and she read something and I didn't know how to read it. And everybody was like, oh my God, yay, Priya's amazing. And I got so mad. I went home. I took this book that I knew all the words to and I just followed it with my finger until I could read every letter. And it took me about 3 hours.
Really?
Yep.
So you've been driven from childhood. So that stubbornness came into that I can do attitude.
Yeah.
You definitely have that. I'm like in awe of Neha.
Oh,
so today you have made another fan. I'm sure you have a fan club following, but today you have a huge fan. And I really want to salute you, because it takes a lot for someone who says, you know what? I don't want to do something for me. I want to do something for my family, but I'll do something for someone else out there. And that is beyond incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neha. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for talking to us. If you can see what this girl is made of, I mean, really, I have goosebumps up and down my spine. I think both of us could have probably broken out into tears a few times during this interview, but we both held it together. This girl is a force to reckon with. I'm sure her parents are proud. I am sure her friends are proud, but she has gained a fan in me today. And I am so, so blessed to have met this girl. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in to another episode of Soul Talks with Alka. Here's Neha Sharma making a difference. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.